Hey, what's up, my fearless networking friends? Todd Falcone here. Welcome back to another episode in this prospecting and recruiting mastery series. So hopefully you've been enjoying all of these videos, and if you're on my podcast, all of these audios, if you will. So if you're catching me right now, and this is like the first time you're talking, what are you talking about this series? I've been doing this very, very lengthy series on this whole subject matter of like getting really good at prospecting and recruiting and network marketing. So you can go way back, and each episode starts with prospecting mastery. So you can go all the way back in these, where on YouTube, on my podcast, or right here on my website at toddfalcone.com. You can find the first one of those, and you can roll through this entire series. A lot of value in it for you guys. I've been doing this series for the last couple of months, and we have a handful more of these episodes before I wrap up this prospecting mastery series. So, okay, so the subject matter for today is what I call the power of the ask, okay? So the power of the ask, what does that mean? Well, we've all heard the phrase, and this is not the first time I've done an episode or a video on the concept of asking questions, right? We've heard the phrase, ask and ye shall receive, right? Seek and ye shall find. But I think what I've come to realize is a lot of people really don't understand how powerful the concept of asking questions is. It's like if we ask a question, whatever that question is, hey, can I get a discount on that? Or can I meet you for a drink? Or can I, borrow your lawnmower? Or can I, whatever. If like, for example, if I need to borrow somebody's lawnmower and I was like, my grass is getting long and I didn't have a lawnmower, am I ever gonna get my grass? I mean, I have to figure something out, right? I'm gonna have to do something in order for my grass to get shorter. And it's not gonna get shorter by itself. I'm gonna have to either go buy a lawnmower, borrow a lawnmower. I'm gonna have to go, hire somebody to mow my lawn. But in this case, let's say I was like in a neighborhood with a bunch of sharing and caring people, and I didn't own a lawnmower, and there was no guy or gal to hire to come and mow my lawn. I'd have to, I wouldn't just sit around waiting for somebody to finally come over and say, dude, your lawn's really long. Maybe I should come over here and, loan you my lawnmower. I would go to the next door neighbor, knock on their door, hey, can I borrow your lawnmower? He's like, yeah, sure, no, just make sure you fill it back up with gas, right? But see, that's the point of this whole episode, is if you don't ask, you don't get. And so if you want to know more about somebody, you ask them questions. If you want somebody to take a look at your business, you ask them to take a look at your business. If you want somebody to, here's another example. I have this guy, actually this has happened a bunch of times with me, because I've been on countless podcasts and interviews and shows and stuff where people want to interview me to ask me questions about my history and success in network marketing. And so every single one of those, like without exception, 100% of those occasions happened because the person asked me. They reached out to me and they said, hey, I run this podcast, or I run this thing. Would you be on my show? Would you be willing to be on my show? And very seldom, if ever, have I said no to that. In fact, I even had a guy this is probably 2 years ago, and I remember this clearly because it was I used the experience as a teaching moment. He messaged me on Facebook and he said, hey, Todd, this is out of the blue, but would it be possible for you to do a training for my team? And my answer without hesitation was absolutely. And he said, well, I don't really have a big team. And I said, hey, no problem. He goes, but I'll only have like 15 or 20 people on that Zoom. I was like, hey, no problem. And he was like shocked that I said yes to it. Now, granted, I prefer to speak to larger audiences. 100, if I'm doing a conference call or a Zoom, I prefer 100 people or more to come in and do a training for a group, for example. But the fact that he asked the question, and he did, and he was, he said, look, I was kind of stuck in my head because I didn't know, because I honestly didn't think you would say yes to that. But because he asked, he got it, okay? And I used that example at the beginning of the training that I did for his team. I'm like, hey, Ron calls me up and he asked me to be here and he was surprised. I'm like, so here I am doing a training for you guys. And the only reason I'm here is because Ron asked me to be here and do a training for you guys. And so I went on to train even further about the concept of asking questions. Hey, would you take a look at my business? Or would you sample my products? Or would you be one of my customers? Or will you show up for the Zoom? Or whatever the question is. But if we don't ask the questions, we're never going to get the answers. And so I don't know what whoever's watching or listening, what you need to do in order to put yourself into this position where you feel like, hey, like I know I'm constantly asking questions. It's crazy because there's so many things that we can uncover, so many things that we can discover just by simply asking questions. So that's why when I talk about this, I talk about it being the power of the ask, because most people really don't understand how powerful simply asking a question is. I guess those of you that are married probably do, because I don't know too many people who just spontaneously combusted into getting married. There's only two things that typically happen, and it's normally the dude that asks the questions. Granted, women ask dudes to marry them or ask people to marry them, okay? And men, most of the time in a male-female relationship, the man, gets down on his knee or does whatever he's doing and asks the question, will you marry me, okay? Like I proposed to my wife live on the radio. That's how I proposed to my wife. It was a crazy proposal. It was super fun. I got a DJ that for my family's business on the phone with my wife while she was at work. And hey, I've got somebody who wants to talk to you. And she's like, what? He's like, can I put you live on the radio? She's like, yeah, okay. And so she's live on the radio, and she's like, yeah, I got somebody who's on here wants to ask you something. And it was me on a cell phone, like a gigantic cell phone. And I was outside of her office, and hey, baby, it's me. What's going on? And she's like, hey, yeah, I'm at work. What do you need? I'm like, well, hey, I just wanted to, hey, by the way, I'm walking into your office right now, and I wanted to come in here, and I wanted to get down on my knee and ask you to marry me. And I had like a giant phone in one hand and a ring in my other hand. And she was like, I think she said yes. I mean, I was like, was that a yes? And that's how I proposed to my wife. But I asked. Now, so I think a lot of times this is making my eyes water. A lot of times it happens one of two ways. Like in one way, most of the time it's somebody's asking the question. Sometimes people are in relationships for a really long time, and they're like, dude, either put a ring on it or, I'm out, and that's, I guess, the pressure, because they've been together for 9 or 10 years, talked about getting married, and, but that's a different story. So my point here, guys and gals, is very, very important for you to just really understand how powerful it is to ask questions, asking for whatever it is that you're asking for. And this is universal. This is in network marketing. This is out of network marketing. Like down in Mexico, for example. Like I was down in Mexico, and if you're buying stuff off of vendors in most countries that you go to, there's always negotiations that go involved. So I got this leather bracelet that he was asking, whatever he was asking for. So he was asking for a price, and I said, it's nice, but I have a bunch of bracelets. And I go, but would you take whatever it was, X amount of pesos? And he's like, well, and it was fun because it was negotiation. He goes, no, but he goes, I'll take this. Well, and then I come back and I said, well, I've only got this many pesos. He goes, fine, I'll take it. But like, if I didn't ask for a deal, I would have paid full retail price. Now, you can't go typically into a restaurant and they bring you the bill and it's $100 and you're like, hey, can I pay 50 for it? But there's a lot of places you can negotiate deals, like car dealerships, for example, or you're buying some pre-owned something off of the internet. I would never personally go buy something off of the web. Let's say I'm on, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace, or I'm on Craigslist and I'm buying I'm buying a used lawnmower, and the guys, it says $299 OBO or best offer. That's already inviting for you to ask for a lower price to purchase that thing. So this is universal, and I don't think you should ever feel shy about asking questions. I think, it depends. I suppose it depends on the type of questions that we're asking, but we also don't want to get into like this probing and I'm not saying that we do this, right? Like you're talking to somebody. Okay, so where are you from? What college did you go to? What's your favorite color? Who's your favorite band? I think I got a lawnmower coming up behind me right now on the golf course. So yeah, pretty sure I do. So you're gonna have to deal with that for a second. And I got a beautiful thing of birds flying over in a V pattern. That's what happens when you do outdoor video. So case in point, or the main point here. The main point is this. And if you have to write it down, ask more questions, whatever you have to do to remind you to just be asking. And in a previous episode, it was either 1 or 2 episodes ago, might have even been the last episode I talked about. Actually, it was 2 episodes ago. I talked about the concept of using our ears. When we ask those questions, you need to use our ears and pay attention and hear the things that those people are telling us. And then we have the full picture. So it's one thing if we're inquiring or we're asking and then somebody gives us the answer, we need to hear what the answer is. And we actually also need to let them answer the question, okay? So I've used this example. I'll use it very, very briefly, and then I'll wrap up this episode. I was on a beach in Hawaii. I was with, I'll just say, a high-level income earner. The person was asking me questions. Now, there's 2 lessons here. She was asking me questions. She was new to network marketing, making some money. She was asking me questions. I was providing the answers. So she asked, which was great. But then what happened was I was providing the answer, and she kept cutting me off mid-sentence. So it was like she wanted to know, but she really didn't want to know. And so she asked me the first question, she cut me off. Okay, fine. A few minutes later, she asked me another question, and she cut me off. And then 10 minutes later, she asked me another question. And the third time she cut me off, I'm like, look, you ain't asking me any more questions. She's like, what? I'm like, you've asked me 3 questions in a row because you're curious and you want to know, and you've got me captured on a beach, and I've got 30 plus years of experience in network marketing. You've been doing this for maybe a year, and you're asking me these questions, and every single time you've asked me the question, you've cut me off. So clearly, you don't want to know the answer to the question. So I stopped taking questions from her, and I kind of put her in her spot because it just needed to happen. She needed to learn the lesson because it was so rude, right? I mean, I was fully aware that she was cutting me off mid-sentence every single time, and it made me first of all, it's given me fodder to talk about. I'm not going to mention her by name. She might be watching this video and go, oh yeah, that was me. But the truth is, that's a lesson that we all need to learn. We need to be good listeners, and we need to be we need to understand the power of asking questions, because it can reveal a tremendous amount of information for us when we're willing to simply ask those questions. So what's up, you guys? Appreciate you for being here. If you're on my YouTube channel, I appreciate you. If you're on my podcast, I appreciate you. All the rest of the details, other assets, other resources on this whole series, and this one in particular as well, are right here at toddfalcone.com/episode 183. Again, TODDFALCONE.com/episode 183. We'll see you next time.